Today is Friday and business is back on the menu. Lace up your sneaks. It's time for Wes Moore to stand on it.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Friday show is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Head on over to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 different flavors to choose from. If you need one now, head to your local grocery or convenience store and grab a 5 Hour Energy today. Stock up and stay energized. Happy Friday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, the Sweet 16 is here. NC State women's basketball is back in action this evening out in Spokane, Washington. It's a Sweet 16 matchup with the LSU Tigers, and it is a rematch from earlier in the season. We saw LSU in late November, suffered a 17-point loss in the, I think it was the Baha Mar tournament, over Feast Week. Obviously, NC State is familiar with LSU. I think both teams are certainly much different than they were in November, as is true for most teams. I was looking back through this box score, and I see a tremendous amount of room for improvement. Just for example, and we'll start this conversation here, when we saw LSU in late November, we were out-rebounded by 20 rebounds, 44-24. Kenton, if NC State's going to get it done, they probably got to win that rebounding margin.
Well, NC State wins the rebounding battle if it's us against just Anissa Morrow alone, 24-15. So, yeah, that goes to show you how dominant she was in that game. Obviously, Anissa Morrow was highly sought after in the portal because when she left DePaul, because she's a superstar. She is a bona fide stud. And with that being said, you were going to need somebody to, in a meaningful way, in a real way, address the problems that she presents to teams, not only on the glass, but as a scorer. Do you think we addressed either? No. 20 points, 15 rebounds, So, again, this is a situation where if NC State wants to win this game, the biggest key to me is that rebounding margin. I'm not saying you have to out-rebound LSU to win this game, because I think that's an extremely tall task. But what does need to happen, this needs to be a full team effort every single time that ball goes off the rim. You have to be better on the boards and be much, much better in terms of, hey, we got to do something with their front court. We got to do something with their wings. And I get it. Michaela Williams is one of the best players in the country. She absolutely is. She can do it all. At 6 feet tall, good handle, good shot, all those things. There's no reason to sit up here and lie about who she is. But with that being said, that does not mean that you give her everything. You've got to take away something. You've got to have something of I wouldn't say defensive masterclass, but you've got to have something of, actually, no, I am going to say that. Sanaya Rivers has to put on the defensive masterclass on one of those two. And then beyond that, the team and the game plan on the other of the two, whichever they decide to deprioritize, still has to be in line. Because, again, if that doesn't happen, yeah, we're cooked. We're fried, dyed, and laid to the side, ladies and gentlemen. But I highly believe that Wes Moore & Company will stand on business, and this will be a game that is at minimum much closer than the last time these two matched up.
Looking back again to this game in late November, this is a game where Sanaya Rivers didn't record a rebound, and neither did Tilda Trieger. This is way before Tilda Trieger really found her stride there in the middle parts of the season and started to learn the position on the fly. Because, again, she's not a true center by nature. She's more of a forward type of player. So having to learn that with the absence of Caitlin Wyman, she's gotten to a spot right now where she seems really comfortable with it, and she's made a lot of game-changing plays, not just rebounding, but scoring the basketball as well. I think Tilda Trieger may or may not be the most important player for NC State in this game. I'd say probably in conjunction with Sanaya, because more than likely Sanaya Rivers is going to be tasked with having to slow down Michaela Williams. But yeah, the idea that Tilda Trieger and Sanaya Rivers did not record a rebound in this game, it's a clear indicator that NC State was nowhere near firing on all cylinders. And if you want to take it a step further, Zoe Brooks also did not record a rebound in this game. And I think when you're looking at the way the team has shifted from November to now, you see an Isaiah James that can take over a game at any given moment when she's efficient in doing so. And Madison Hayes is a double-double machine, mixing it up in the paint despite being undersized, so to speak. This team is much more built for the moment now than they were in November. When you look at just the three seniors, Hayes, Rivers, and James, they're playing every game like it's their last, because if they lose, it is their last. They can't go out with another performance where they're leaving so many opportunities on the table like they did the last time they saw LSU. So I'm really liking the opportunity for Westmore's squad to, right some wrongs here, learn from what they did the last time they saw LSU, and make those crucial adjustments.
Absolutely. And we would be remiss if we didn't mention the superstar on this team, the superstar on that LSU team, and Flau'jae Johnson. She is the like we talked about with Will Wade, the showstopper of the group. And so I know a lot of people be wondering, well, if she's the showstopper, why would you not assign Sanaa Rivers to her? Because the deal is, I would look at her and say, hey, at the end of the day, her and Williams are the ones that I would say figure out something around them to kind of get them off their game. But to me, the key is you have to keep Morrow off the boards, and you have to make it difficult on her to score. Those other two, you are much more likely to get them to settle for jump shots and be a little less aggressive in terms of attacking the paint downhill than you are with Morrow. Morrow, that's where she lives. That's where she lives, and that's where our weakness is. So that is no disrespect to Flau'jae, because, again, she's phenomenal. She's a superstar. She's going to have a very long and prosperous career in the W. But this game here, front court. I guarantee you, I am quite literally guaranteeing it. If you look at the front court of our bigs who play the most minutes, or if you look at the plus minus rather of our bigs who play the most minutes, that'll get a game one right there. That'll show you exactly what happened. It doesn't matter how hot everybody is in terms of what you need to stop LSU. Now, offensively, just go out there and be who you are. Grayson and I both said after the first game, you're not going to see another 4-20 shooting night. That's just not going to happen in terms of the round of 64 where things were close much longer than they should have been. Again, you're not going to see another 4-20 shooting night. Last time we saw this team against Michigan State, they came out there and absolutely dominated. We have the speed to take LSU off the dribble. The key is when you get to the rim, either come up with some very creative finishes, or folks need to be knocking down those shots off of that dribble penetration. But again, LSU is a very quality team. Kim Mulkey, legendary coach, national champion and all that. But it's your time, brother. It's your time. And, everybody says that the women's tournament doesn't start till the Sweet 16 for real. Well, it's time. This thing is starting. It's kicked off, brother. So, it's definitely time for NC State to tighten the screws a little bit, ratchet up the pressure a little bit in terms of not letting LSU get comfortable.
I think last thing that's going to be a non-negotiable for NC State is taking care of the basketball. And last time we played LSU actually turned the ball over 21 times, but because of that discrepancy in rebounding, it didn't end up mattering all that much. NC State had 13 turnovers, and to that same point, if you can't rebound the basketball, every turnover gets that much more crucial. So not only is NC State going to have to crash the boards exponentially harder than they did the last time I saw the Tigers, but you have to take care of the basketball. If you can limit your turnovers, which I think they've done a relatively good job of doing so far early in this tournament, if you can limit your turnovers and really make sure that every possession counts, and it feels like it counts, especially coming down the stretch in quarter 3 and quarter 4, I think NC State's got a really good shot at winning this ball game. And it's going to be a great game. LSU has been an explosion of offense in their first 2 games. Both of their tournament games have had over 100 points scored for LSU. So they're coming in riding the hot hand, or I guess hands plural, because everyone's scoring the basketball for them right now. NC State's got to find a way to ratchet up the toughness, the intensity, just a couple more notches, control the basketball, control the game, and move on to the Elite Eight. Should be a fantastic matchup. We're pulling for Westmore and the women's basketball team out in Spokane. I believe it's a 7:30 tip Friday evening. So tonight in Spokane, time to stand on business. Coming up next, we're getting into Fan Friday, addressing our top comments of the week. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Friday sponsor is Nissan. We're all about the stats because numbers, well, they don't lie. And when it comes to the all-new Nissan Armada PRO-4X, the numbers are on an MVP level. With the ability to tow up to 8,500 pounds, It can quite literally carry the whole team plus the gear wherever you need to go. It's powered by a twin-turbo V6 engine, delivering the strength and performance to handle highways, back roads, and literally everything in between. With room for up to 8 people, the Armada Pro-4X is built for big crews, big adventures, and even bigger memories. Whether you're exploring off-road trails or rolling up to the arena, the Armada Pro-4X brings power, versatility, and style wherever you go. Take your adventures to new heights in the all-new Nissan Armada Pro-4X. Learn more at nissanusa.com. Our second Friday sponsor is FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get over $200 back in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who might cut down the nets in the national championship. I've got my eye on a couple underdogs here in these next couple rounds, and FanDuel's making it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. With tournament games happening almost every day this upcoming weekend, there's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly with no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long, only on FanDuel. Middle portion of our Friday show. Now time to get into Fan Friday, addressing our top comments of the week. Here we go. First one comes from Josh Wicker. It says, the Dirty Foot Club has a tendency to break laws anyway. This is in conjunction with the conference realignment talk that we had. Mason Powell joined the show on Monday. And so he says, not sure what impact this would have. I'd rather get out of a conference with the Dirty Foot Club if given the option. So tired of the BS that they continue to get away with on a very regular basis. Sure, play them yearly, but please give me a much-deserved break and put us in a different sandbox. Later in the comments, I'll also add, I had mentioned that it was kind of interesting to watch the rest of the country take notice of Carolina and the nepotism going on with their AD Bubba Cunningham, more or less getting them into the dance. And Josh was saying, to what ends will NC State put up with such a thing? I've said this before on here. It feels very much like the Batman and Joker dynamic where they're just destined to do this forever. Whether we do get split up with Carolina or not, we're always going to hate them. The dynamic is never going to change. But I do think we're better served being in the same conference because I am very much of a guy, and I've said this plenty of times on here as well. I love the tradition of the regional rivalries and, you know, playing Duke and Carolina every year. And the triangle rivalry should mean something. And I would much rather prefer we all stay within the same conference. Although money usually wins in the end, and I don't suspect it'll be any different here. If we do end up getting split up, we still have to play because this rivalry does mean something to a lot of us within this state.
What? The Dirty Foot Club has a tendency to break laws? What?
Say it ain't so.
With the way that they've treated this hire of Will Wade, you can't be talking about them. They must be saints over there. Oh, they go into the confessional and the priest confesses their sins to them. That's how squeaky clean they must be. But no, in all seriousness, my thing is this. We have to be honest about where things are. I think that's very important in these realignment talks. And objectively speaking, we are the more passionate fan base. They are the bigger fan base. Yes, it is definitely a situation where it's like, hey, you give me 100 truly committed people, you know, and you can do more than 10,000 people who are wishy-washy, who are depending on the day. But the reality is those 10,000 people turn on the TV. Okay, that's just what it is. So if you're talking realignment, I think we're better with them only because it gives you a better chance of getting into one of the big two than without. So, I mean, obviously, I enjoy playing them in football. Beating those bozos is always a great time. But, you know, hey, with Will Wade coming, who knows? You know what I mean? We might get real wicked and start whooping on them in basketball on the regular too. You know what I mean? But in all seriousness, it's a situation where, again, their brand is big enough to where I'm very honest about the fact that going with them would be a good thing.
Yeah, this might reach the situation where if Will Wade does deliver on what he says he's going to deliver on, we don't want the Dirty Foot Club to go anywhere. Y'all stay right here because we got something to show y'all for the next decade plus. But we'll see where this thing goes. But I think it's probably most likely that we will stay somewhat packaged together in the near future. Second one comes from JD2 Cylinder Nut in the context of the Will Wade hire. They say Pack fan base is insanely loyal and patient to a fault. This is one of those times when loyalty and patience pays off. Pack forever. Could not say it any better myself. For many of us that have spent decades of Wolfpack fans, not only have we been waiting decades to land a basketball hire like this one in Will Wade, but all of the, the heartbreaking moments we've had, not just in basketball, but across all sports, and, the NC State stuff cloud that we were under for decades. And we had the championship drought for 3 decades. And then Kevin Keats finally just snapped that last season. We've been through a lot. This fan base has seen it all, been through it all, and we have constantly been waiting for our day in the sunshine, and hopefully it lasts more than 15 minutes. We want to be consistent and build a consistent program and be a consistent brand to be reckoned with, #The Reckoning, in the ACC and college sports in general. This is absolutely one of those moments where you feel like we're finally getting somewhere. And being a fan of the NC State Wolfpack is probably more exciting now than it has been a long time. I'd say the only other time really was last March when we witnessed what Kevin Keats and the squad did. So it feels amazing to land this hire, have him come in, win the press conference, and promise us that this thing will get turned around in a short amount of time. Our patience feels like it's right on the brink of being rewarded.
I'm going to say something, and some people are not going to like it, but I have to say it. JD, you are correct that, insanely loyal, absolutely. Patient to a fault. I strongly disagree. No fan base is patient to a fault. Your team's just not good. That's just what it is. We just have to accept that we have not won championships, okay? And again, that isn't me taking shots at the basketball team. Grayson knows this, but I'll tell it to the whole world. The reason I don't have a class ring from NC State is because I believe if I didn't win a championship as a senior, and what was the point? So that is not a shot at the basketball team. That is a shot at me and everybody that's been a part of football legacy and all of these different sports. With all due respect, if you are not a women's basketball player, cross-country runner, swimmer, wrestler, you really do not have much room to say, I am a champion and a member of the Wolfpack. So with that being said, it feels really good because good things aren't the standard. But again, don't worry. This is going to be the standard around here coming soon.
Next one comes from Chris Brevard. He says many or most coaches would avoid this job because they'd have to recruit and play against Duke and UNC every year. Will Wade wants this job because he gets to recruit and play against them. I'm so impressed with the confidence and approach. We have embraced being the underdog and relishing upsets for far too long. Expectations are changing. I think that ties in directly to what Kenton was just talking about there. It's long overdue that NC State has a shift in the mindset in becoming the aggressor and not just having to sit back and wonder, oh boy, how many points is the Dirty Foot Club going to beat us by this time because we still got our stuff out of whack over here. No. Will Wade is coming to right this ship and put it on a better course than it's been hopefully ever, but if not ever, then since a really, really long time ago. But now you're actually seeing wheels in motion with a hire this big, and the staff that's coming down the line for Will Wade, that's going to be in lockstep with his blueprint for the program. And I do find it fascinating, kind of what Chris was saying in this comment here. Will Wade is coming here knowing what he's perceived to be up against in terms of the Dirty Foot Club and Duke, and he takes that as a challenge. He takes it as like disrespect. He said, if we come in and we do what we want to do, we focus on our program, they're going to have to worry about us. We're not going to worry about them. They're going to have to worry about us. And so that is the trajectory that we are now moving on to. And I'm so glad that we have finally found the coach that is undying in that belief. He does not care what the ACC thinks, what the rest of the country thinks, much less what the Dirty Foot Club and Duke thinks. He wants to come in and win. And I can't wait to see him get this done.
1,000% this. I'll take you back to, I want to say, November of 2011 or so. There was a reporter talking to us about, hey, Cass Tech has never been to a state championship, and you have to play Catholic Central that has, I want to say like that, somewhere between 13 or 15, somewhere in there. And they're like, yeah, one of the most storied programs in the state. How do you feel about that? Do you think that puts you at an advantage or disadvantage or whatever, that having to play them? And the first thing I thought was, what do you mean you have to play? They have to play us.
Yeah.
They have to play up. That mentality that Grayson just talked about. I'm not stuck recruiting next to the Dirty Foot Club and Duke. They're stuck with me. You don't know what you are in for, buddy. That is the type of stuff. Again, I love everything you have to say here, especially those last two sentences. We have embraced the underdog for being the underdog and relishing upsets for far too long. Expectations are changing. You're damn right. You're damn right. You know why? You know how I know expectations are changing? Quick question, Grayson. Every time NC State and the Dirty Foot Club playing football, what's the expectation?
The NC State beats them now.
Duke and NC State, when those two teams playing football, what's the expectation? Even this last few years withstanding, what is generally the expectation?
The expectation is that we should beat them, although we've been let down here the last couple of years. But the expectation is that NC State should be the best team within the state.
And that is what I want for basketball too. And I want to take it to a whole nother level. Because even with football, being the best team in the state ain't enough. I want more. Give me a big ring. So, absolutely. Expectations are changing. And I'm glad about it.
And last one from Eric Guerra. It says, with the talk about bringing in a basketball GM and NIL, do you think that priorities have started to shift away from football and more towards basketball in Raleigh? Could just be the time of the year, but it seems like there's much more emphasis from the school on basketball. So I think I kind of hinted at this the other day. I could certainly see why people are, starting to take this idea and run with it a little bit. It does appear that the administration seems to be more locked into getting this hire right than they have in getting basically anything right in the last couple decades. And we also talked about the changing of the chancellor, and Kevin Howe will be taking over the chancellor duties here in May. That does have a lot to do with this, because word on the street is he's a lot more, emotionally invested in athletics than Chancellor Woodson was. And if that's the case, there's going to be more funding, there's going to be more donors, and there's going to be more aggressive actions being taken for state to be consistent across the board. And I think you are seeing that play out in real time. I think Will Wade coming to Raleigh is a real statement made by Boo Corrigan and both Randy Woodson and Kevin Howe that NC State wants to get more of what we saw last year. And I think there is maybe a little bit of recency bias, being that NC State basketball did win the ACC title. They did go to the Final Four, and they got a taste of that national prominence that they haven't had in, was it 37 years. They got a taste of how that felt. And I think that is probably one of the biggest reasons you're seeing them go all in right now. They had the opportunity to bring in a killer as a coach. And if you could get the NIL to match that, then you really have some momentum here. And now we're here. We have a stone cold killer as a head coach. We have more NIL than we could have dreamed of in basketball. We're talking like 3 times the amount that we were working with last year. This is a statement that they're going all in on basketball. And I'll bring up the other half of this conversation. I think it is interesting, because what does that mean for football? Are we going to see a similar rallying cry at the beginning or end of this coming football season? I thought, and I think we all thought, to be honest, that we were seeing this similar push in football before this past season, when we had all the high-level transfers come in, the Grayson McCalls and Jordan Waters and Noah Rogers. I think we thought that's what that was going to look like for football. It didn't quite work out. So how do they recuperate from that? How do they rebound for that? Is basketball becoming the true priority, or do you think there's still going to be a little bit of balance, but it might take to see what football ends up doing this year? What are your thoughts, Kenton?
Eric, this isn't about you, so don't take this personally. I got to thump Wolfpack Nation in the forehead real quick. Stop it. Stop that right now. Why did I just thump you all in the forehead? Okay. Grayson is correct. Last year, in the way that we fully went all in for football, and now we're going all in for basketball, and we're building a new stadium for which sport, Grayson?
Baseball.
I don't know about y'all, but the big 3 sports that we have historically been the bridesmaids but never the brides in, seems like there is a concerted, effort or investment happening in all 3. And again, I know that I have not been my nicest self to NC State, to Wolfpack Nation in this episode. So I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. In all seriousness, I look at this and I say, this is just the new normal for NC State. Get used to it. Life like this sure is sweet, huh? Even though things didn't work out on the football side, was it not a concerted effort? Can anybody sit back and say, that was football putting out a half behind effort? They didn't go out and do everything they possibly could to make this team better. Can anybody say that? I wouldn't say that. I would acknowledge they took a swing and they missed. Things went wrong. You live with it. I think we now are in a full understanding of why one-year rentals are bad and generally do not work out. Cool. But they took the swing. They took the big hack. I am telling you all, it feels like this is the new normal. By the way, there's one interesting tidbit that I believe Grayson and I may have said on there, we may not have. Kevin Howell attended NC State, and when he attended NC State, he lettered in wrestling, ladies and gentlemen. This is a former Wolfpack student athlete. He wore the red and white on his singlet. That's what they call them, right? Singlets?
Yeah, singlet.
Yeah, he wore the red and white on his singlet. This is a man that understands how much sports means, how much it means to be good at sports. So don't take this as, oh, man, we're putting in a lot in the basketball. So are we doing the same in baseball? So are we doing the same in football? This is the new normal. NC State is going balls to the wall to be successful, and I'll take it.
And don't forget revenue sharing coming down the pipeline as well. With that, you have more money to distribute across all sports. So don't think of it as every single thing in finance is going toward basketball, because that's not quite the case. They're just getting a lot more aggressive and funneling some NIL in that direction. So the revenue sharing is going to be a really big part of that. The viewership as well. We've talked about that. Viewership for football this coming fall is going to be very important. So the entire floor for all athletics is raising here. Everyone's starting to make a bit more money. So I wouldn't quite say they're favoring basketball yet, but I mean, if Will Wade comes in and builds an empire, then I think that'd be a fair assumption at that point. We'll see where this thing goes, but I do think it's a fair question. Coming up next, we're going to round out our Friday show with our Sweet 16 picks. March Madness is back this coming weekend. We're going to give you our picks before everything tips off. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our third Friday sponsor is 5 Hour Energy. Daylight savings time snuck up on us all again, and if you're feeling like you're reeling from that lost hour of sleep, 5 Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament or squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just trying to make it through your busy day, 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. If you've been staying up watching the tournament like I have, 5 Hour Energy can go a long way. And with longer days, you can get outside for longer, enjoy a hike, go for a run. Make sure you grab that tropical burst because it is the go-to flavor for outdoor activities. Head on over to 5hourenergy.com and find over 15 different flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack and have it delivered straight to your front door. If you need one now, grab a 5 Hour Energy from your local grocery or convenience store because they're literally everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized with 5 Hour Energy. Last couple minutes here on Friday. Obviously, March Madness is back. The Sweet 16 will kick off on Thursday. We are recording this on Thursday evening, but it's before all the games tip off, so we are technically still giving you our picks before those happen. Obviously, you'll hear the Thursday results tomorrow because this is the Friday episode. So if we go 0 for 4, feel free to make fun of us. But we'll also give you our Friday picks as well for the Sweet 16 teams advancing into the Elite Eight. And maybe if we have some time, we'll go ahead and give you our Final Four predictions from there on out. So first one here, Sweet 16 in the East region, Kenton. It is the 6 seed BYU Cougars, 2 seed Alabama Crimson Tide. Who do you have winning that one?
Roll Tide. They're going to run them out the building. Way too much speed, way too much pace and space. I think they get it done.
Yeah, Alabama does play at a breakneck pace. I think there's going to be like 3,000 points scored in this game. It could be like literally like 100-94. It'll be way up there. If you're looking to take the over, this is my recommendation to do so. Well, I guess it won't matter because you're hearing this on Friday, but I think there's going to be 1 million points scored in this game. Alabama's pace, I think that serves as a problem for basically anyone they face off with. So I, too, am taking Bama in this one. The West region, we have the 4 seed Maryland Terps, the 1 seed Florida Gators. Kenton, who you got?
You know, I picked Florida to win this ball game in my bracket. I'm going to stick with them, although I didn't have Maryland as their opponent. Give me Florida. Again, they're another team. They will run you off that darn court. They just are go, go, go as soon as that thing comes out the net. I think they're another team that, they're going to give Maryland some problems. Give me Florida.
I picked Florida as my national champion. They are an absolute wagon. I think they are the most complete team in the country. That includes Duke, but I think Duke still has that special sauce. We'll get to them later. Maryland also shouldn't even be here. They traveled on that game winner from Derek Queen. So give me Florida in this game. I think this is a ball don't lie situation. Gators move on to the Elite Eight. Next one, the East region. 4-seeded Arizona Wildcats, 1-seeded Duke Blue Devils. Who we got?
Duke Blue Devils. I mean, you got to rock with the ACC here. They're our last hope left. Duke, come on. Take it on home.
This is a Duke rematch with Caleb Love. Obviously, he plays for Arizona. That's not going to matter at all. Give me Duke by at least 10. I think they double-digit them. Duke is going to roll early, roll often, and they're going to roll their way to the Elite Eight. Last one on Thursday, the 10-seed Arkansas and the 3-seed, the Texas Tech Red Raiders in the West region.
I told everybody that Texas Tech was going to be pretty good out of this region. I still have them being pretty good out of this region. I don't think that Coach Cal and company can pull this one off and get it done. I think that this is where the magic stops for Arkansas.
I agree. I think Texas Tech is a really solid team. I think JT Toppin's a monster in the front court for the Red Raiders. That's really all you have to say. I think Arkansas is just far too inconsistent. They have the ability to knock off a top team, but they also have the ability to give you a stinker. I think this is going to be a stinker for the Hogs. Give me Texas Tech moving on to the Elite Eight. Now for Friday's games. You have the 6-seed Ole Miss, the 2-seed Michigan State. This is in the South region where we got.
Oddly enough, I had a feeling that Michigan State was going to do this. I had a feeling that Izzo magic was going to come back. I got Michigan State winning this one over Ole Miss. I really and truly do. I mean, they've got some elite guard play going on over there, and I think they take it. I think they take it to Ole Miss in this one.
They say it's January, February, and then Izzo, but give me Ole Miss in this game. I think the way that Ole Miss dominated Iowa State the last game, I had Iowa State actually in the Final Four because I thought they were complete enough to make it there. Ole Miss completely exposed them, and I think if they have that offensive firepower again against Michigan State, I think they take it because Michigan State, they're very solid defensively, but they don't always, outpace you. They won't always outscore you. If Ole Miss can outscore them, obviously they're going to win the game, but I think they're going to play much quicker. It's going to give the Spartans some problems. So give me Ole Miss. Next one here in the Midwest region, 3-seed Kentucky, 2-seed Tennessee. This is a rivalry game in the Sweet 16. What do we got?
So this is one of the matchups that I actually did have happening in the Sweet 16, and I picked Tennessee over Kentucky. Give me Tennessee in this one. I think they advance in a very close one. That Kentucky team just ain't been together long enough. They're brand new, brand new head coach. Again, it's college basketball, so things happen, develop quickly. But Tennessee's been playing together for forever. Those guys know each other, extremely well. And normally the power of friendship ain't gonna help you if you got a step, but this ain't that. So I think they'll be just fine.
I think you said that perfectly, and that's exactly why I'm also going with Tennessee. I think they have the real senior leadership. Rick Barnes has been around for a long time, and he's been steadily building this program to be built for moments like this one. Give me Tennessee moving on to the Elite Eight. Next one in the South region, the 5-seed Michigan Wolverines, the 1-seeded Auburn Tigers. Who do we have?
Auburn is a wagon right now. I'm seeing an absolute clash of the Titans. I think that there are really a few teams in this tournament that I'm looking at as the Titans, and I know it's kind of dumb to say that when they're almost all 1 seeds, but I think Auburn, Duke, and Florida, and Tennessee looking like complete and utter wagons right now. I really and truly don't see this going well for Michigan, but great year one by Dusty May.
Michigan certainly tries to overwhelm teams because they play 2 7-footers at the same time. I don't think Auburn's going to have a big problem with that because they are just as, if not more, athletic, despite maybe giving up some size. Janai Broom's been a National Player of the Year contender. That's really all you need to say for this one. Give me Auburn. I also don't think Michigan's that great, so double down. Give me Auburn. Last one here in the Midwest, 4-seeded Purdue Boilermakers, 1-seeded Houston Cougars. Last matchup, Kenton, where are you headed?
Cougs, listen here. Coach Sampson coaches those guys up to play some tough, hard-nosed defense, but there's something different this year. They're scoring the ball from deep, Grayson. They're shooting threes at a rate that we have never seen from a Sampson-led team, and they're knocking them down. I'll tell you what, if they continue to hit at this rate, they might even give my national champion a run. You know, I picked Tennessee in my bracket. That's a tough squad to beat when they're defending the way that they do defend, and you add in a three-point shot with that, that's the whole team, by the way. Most of their guys can shoot. It's going to be a problem. I got Houston.
Houston's been a very solid program for a number of years here, but they keep consistently falling short in March. This looks like the team that won't fall short. I think they're going to beat Purdue. I think they're going to win their next game in the Elite Eight as well. And I do think Houston's going to make it to the Final Four. Their team is very well constructed in terms of how they rebound, how they shoot, how they play stifling defense. They're the best defensive team in the country. Give me Houston over Purdue. I think they're going to cause a lot of problems for the Boilermakers, and Houston's going to march on to the Elite Eight, in my opinion, even further than that. That will do it for us here on Friday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Big week with the hiring of Will Wade. We've very much appreciated all of your comments, all of your likes, all of your interaction with us online, social media. Very exciting time to be a fan of the NC State Wolfpack, and we thank you for a great week hanging out with us on here on the podcast. Be sure to hit that like button, drop your comments in the comment box, mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll see y'all on Monday for more, and until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.